The NASCAR Cup Series goes points racing at North Wilkesboro Speedway for the first time in 3 decades. How do we handicap it and who are we backing? We break it all down next, right here on the Backroad.
I don't drive a Monte Carlo, and my truck ain't painted black. It ain't got a big white number 3 turning left around the track.
Die-casting NASCAR fans out there, let's go!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends and neighbors, it's great to see you. Welcome into the Backroad. It is In Between Media and FSAN's NASCAR betting show. Elliot Hicks and Seth Woolcock here for another week. As like you said, Seth, we are really throwing it back this week. Points racing at North Carolina's North Wilkesboro Speedway for the first time in our lifetimes, and we're getting older. So it's been a hot minute. So really exciting weekend ahead for the Cup and the Truck Series.
Absolutely, Elliot. Happy to be breaking down this race for you. Happy to be here and make it to this point in our lives, especially today. I'm not going to lie, I don't feel the best. I was sitting outside earlier this morning, just enjoying the bright, beautiful Pennsylvania weather here. And all of a sudden, some smog rolled in, right? And our brothers from the north, figure it out. Come on, figure it out up there, because those Canadian wildfires, they were hitting me hard. And I might have hung outside a little bit too long. So if the voice is a little raspy tonight, I apologize. And the Canadians can also apologize for it.
Yeah, man, where there's smoke, there's fire. And hopefully everyone's doing all right, having to deal with that. We're hoping the fire is on the betting cards this week. We're excited to go through it. First off, we'll go through in the rear view, looking through the weekend at Atlanta and Echo Park Speedway. In the horizon forecast, we will break down all there is to know about North Wilkesboro. And then in our parking garage props, we'll break down our best bets for the weekend. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We appreciate any way you can support us, and that is the best and easiest way to help us continue to grow here. Be sure to check out our bonus episodes. We've broken down every bit of the in-season challenge, and there'll be one more separate bonus episode for the Final Four coming this week. Then for the final, we're going to do a little short for that because it's going to be pretty short. Down to 2 drivers next week. We got the Final Four that we'll talk about. And there's been some upset runs, some easy ways to make money, some things we've lost. That's been a little wild. So go and check out that if you haven't already. Shout out to all of our live viewers on YouTube, everybody on Apple Podcasts, and just everybody supporting this show, Seth. Yeah, I'm sure you will echo it. We're very stoked for people to be in our audience is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, absolutely, man. We are very blessed for the great men and women who give us time each and every week, right? I had some faces that I've never even heard from reach out to me on Facebook recently, and it was kind of buried below all the millions of spam messages I get. Oh, what's this? Asking for some NASCAR picks. Said they were, a big fan of the show. They watch each and every single week. So we really appreciate that, whether you're, watching on your mobile, your computer, your TV, whatever it is. We really appreciate that. And like Elliot said, easiest way to support us, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, because we're going to have a fun bonus episode here in a couple weeks as well, Elliot. We're going to be in person next weekend in Canton, Ohio for the Fantasy Football Expo. So I think you and I will get on the mics and do a draft or do something, kind of fun just to break up the monotonous of the summer season.
Yeah, man, really looking forward to that. And yeah, there's so many different ways to say thanks that my dumbass was stumbling on it a second ago. So enough with the stumbling, enough with the plugs. Let's get to the content. Take a look back in the rear view.
Baby, that's how you do it. Thank you guys so much. You guys are awesome. You are the fans. No way! We did it!
Another Sunday night race for the Cup Series, and this one went even later than usual. A little rain delay in the middle of the race at the checkered flag fly at about 2 a.m. Monday morning. Being a night owl, I love it. I understand people who had to go back and watch it in the morning and catch up on what was a great finish to that race. Ryan Blaney was the dominant car all day long. It was unbelievable. We have not seen a car be so dominant at a super speedway race. I believe it was since the mid-'60s when Richard Petty led a boatload of laps in the Daytona 500, and I believe it was 1964 Ryan Blaney most laps led on a super speedway since then. And we got super speedway style racing. We got a super speedway style finish. But a lot of that race kind of reminded me of like old Daytona Busch races. And some of that, handling matters more. It's not just big pack racing. The point is Atlanta is really evolving into one hell of a racetrack, and exactly what they expected, I'm sure, when they did this reconfiguration.
It feels a lot different than it did just 2 or 3 years ago, right, Elliot, where it was getting more of that pack racing because we were really seeing drivers kind of get out to a little bit of a gap and able to hold that, maneuvering different ways across the entire track there, right? Up top to bottom, we saw it kind of come down to those final few laps and where you're positioned, who had the run, who had the help, and who didn't. But it is really interesting just to kind of see this track continue to evolve. Maybe it's not as entertaining as it was like a year or two ago when we're seeing 4 or 5 wide on the Reggie. But at the same time, I think it is giving us some great racing and throwback style racing, which I know us NASCAR purists love.
The O'Reilly Series race was entertaining too. And we had a bit more super speedway style racing there. And like usual in the O'Reilly Series, came down to some underdogs really having a shot at the end of the race. Brendan Poole, Nick Sanchez in the 87. They blew their shot, as did others, and Justin Allgaier was there to take advantage. His 1,500th win of the season or something like that. And not only did he extend his points lead, clinch a spot in the chase, as he's already had for a couple of weeks now, he's feeling so good that this week they officially confirmed he'll be back in the 7 for 2027 and beyond. So nice to see Allgaier will stick around and the domination will continue, just as it did with him taking advantage, winning a super speedway race.
Yeah, dude, that's what Gator does. That's what happens when you run up front consistently, right, Elliot? You can put yourself in a position where you can maybe steal when you didn't deserve, right? And I think, out of all the losses, the close ones that Gators had over the years, I think this is kind of one that makes up for it. But, still same familiar faces up front, right? I mean, shouts to our guy Slim Jim on the top 10. We should have laddered that up to a top 5. I think he looked great. Same with his teammate, Anthony Alfredo. And you mentioned it, some of these big-time underdogs, too. Jeremy Clements. I was looking around him, sniffing, hey, I feel like every time we go to one of these super speedways, it's like, do I bet Jeremy Clements or do I bet Poole for like a top 10 at like long shot odds? I think you just have to bet both of them every single time. That's kind of what we're seeing there because usually one of those guys will at least return value.
Yeah, man, lots of good underdog runs up there, but it is Allgaier that gets the win. And I omitted talking about the bets first because it was a terrible week for me. I said last week I was taking an entirely different strategy, going on vibes, going a little bit on past finishes. That didn't work out very well for me either. I only hit a handful of bets, and one of them was a hat pick. Ty Gibbs top 5 managed to work out for me, but otherwise, the Buescher top 10 at plus 160 I was able to hit only because of Bubba Wallace's penalty. Feel free to chime in if you have any thoughts on that. Of course, going below the line, going for the win, they penalize him, drop him to the last car on the lead lap. That killed my 23 over the 1 bet. I hit the race to overtime at plus 120, but that was about it. And yeah, not a lot better on the O'Reilly side. The plus 180 Retzloff top 10. But honestly, with the super speedways, man, with how bad I've been, you may as well have someone else on for Daytona because I'm not any help.
Dude, that's part of it, right? And that's why we kind of have to take a different approach and scale back our unit share a little bit. I think I got overexposed. I had a couple units played on Zane Smith laddered up that did not come through. Same thing with Ricky Stenhouse. 2 of the guys that if you looked at average finishes inside the top 20, they were 2 of the best, right? And this is kind of just some of that gimmicky racing we can get, even with Atlanta being a little bit more handling than some of these other super speedways. So I totally understand that. Luckily, like Saturday, good day for me, right? Raja Crew top 10 plus 155, Parker Retzloff plus 180. Had a unit on Retzloff there, a unit and a half on Raja. So felt good about those, getting those across the line. But Sunday, pretty much nothing worked out for me except fading drivers, right? Kyle Larson revenge ladder pays off for me after he did me dirty in the in-season challenge. Not to finish top 10, minus 149 for a unit and a half, and then plus 173 to not finish top 20 as well. So that felt great.
Yeah, it worked out because Larson once again stepped on it, ends up crashing not once but twice in that race. So didn't work the money I had on him either. So hey, that's what it is. Super speedways sometimes. You mentioned about Zane Smith, Front Row Motorsports. They were very, very, very slow. Didn't stop Gilliland from beating Bowman in the in-season challenge at the end of the race, but they all ran a lap down pretty much the entire race. So that did not work out well either. The truck race at Lime Rock, Grant Enfinger wins it. Your bets turn out just as well as mine, even though you didn't realize they were at Lime Rock and not Atlanta. I hit the Landon Lewis over Mosack barely because Landon Lewis was wrecked halfway through that race. Mosak, of course, wrecks just like every week. And you had the Thomas and Annunziata not top 10 hit because the truck catches on fire from a wreck, because there were times where Landon Lewis, Mosak, and Annunziata were running up front in that race. But truck road courses are just as chaotic as Cup and O'Reilly super speedways, so you kind of were on the right path there anyway.
Yeah, I mean, fading the young guns worked out to an extent with Annunziata, but Landon Lewis, I kind of fucked around, found out, right? Lost a couple units there, lost the matchup in the matchup contest. Again, thought they were racing in Atlanta when I placed those bets. Could have cashed out for a little bit of a loss, but at that point, I'm like, hey, let's just ride it out here. But yeah, so that was definitely tough. And just overall, kind of a disappointing weekend, Elliot, especially kind of being on that Hocevar outright at 18-1. Like, any final thoughts on, not to skip the truck race, which, hard to kind of break down the mess we saw there, but any thoughts? Like, do you think Hocevar did what he needed to do? Do you think like people won't be pushing him to the line now? Like, how do you think this kind of shakes out from a betting perspective long-term with the 77?
I think with Hocevar, I mean, I get it. It looks like at the end, the two guys go with the guy above Hocevar and the guy below Hocevar, and not with Hocevar. If he'd had a Chevy teammate up there, I think things would have gone differently. People are going to go with their manufacturer teammates usually anyway. I think the 20 knew the 23 was going to have a penalty, wasn't going to push him. He's easier to get to Blaney. And then I don't remember who was behind the 23, but either way, 23 was getting shipped to the back regardless. If Hocevar had a Chevy up there, it would have been different. Hocevar's bigger problem was coming to the white flag. He was 3 car lengths ahead of everybody else. Kind of like, I think it was Poole in the O'Reilly race. You just can't be that far ahead and not have the runs come to you. You got to time that well enough. That's just super speedway racing. I think that it's a little overanalyzed, but it does show that Hocevar is not going to get any extra benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, and he's proving to be one of the better racers, not only at super speedways right now, but also Atlanta, right? He has been putting on an absolute clinic there this season. So disappointing, but like, I think you kind of have to go like right back to him when we're probably at Atlanta next year, right? Like, is there anyone else you trust that, like, out of him and like Danny, but him and Danny Suarez seem like the guys who naturally just come together here and have a lot of speed, whether it's the Spire equipment, whether it's the setups they're getting, or whether it's just, hey, they're dang good racers here. But either way, like, you can't be mad about it. Like, it was a fun sweat in my sleep. But yeah, did you make it? Did you make it all?
Yeah.
How do you do that, dude? Like, I used to be able to do that, and I used to love these late night races. I can't do it anymore. I'm out, dude. I don't know what it is.
I don't know, man. Just naturally more of a night owl, and I was excited for the possibility. Granted, it did get a little late there, but you have some help.
What time did that race finish?
I think it was definitely after 2. I think it was maybe 2 and change. Got to bed around 3-ish, and I was all right.
Would have been a late night in the media center. I'm seeing people tweet stuff out at like 4 a.m., so I had no idea. But that's why DVR is so great, Ellie, because you can just go back through the next morning, fast forward a little bit, and you're on a commercial. Fast forward here a little bit in commercial. All right. But we got one driver kind of leading the field. Let's fast forward a little bit.
Yeah, the nice thing is, I mean, I think they went mostly commercial free at the end of the race there, because who's really watching to get advertised to that isn't already getting advertised to beforehand?
Yeah, right.
Either way, TNT's been fun to watch. HBO Max has gone essentially commercial free during the green flag, which is super duper awesome. The old school. It's like the old school vibes. I don't know if anyone here was around for those couple of years of NASCAR Hot Pass on DirecTV. It was paid for the first couple of years. And so they had dedicated channels to like 6 drivers. So, of course, every week there was a Dale Jr. channel. And for the first 2 years, paid premium service, but always free for the Daytona 500. They had specific play-by-play guys for like just that driver to watch their in-car. And then you had the broadcast in a separate window. They kind of dumbed it down their last couple of years. I think this ended in like 2011 or 2012. But they would still show you one box would be the in-car. You could hear all the radio. And then you had the broadcast in a separate window. So I feel like I'm reliving that again. Commercial free on the TV. I've got the in-car cameras on the iPad and just living my best life watching these races this summer.
I would bet minus 10,000 that your in-car camera traditionally stays on the 48. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, but anybody watching would probably know that anyway. So it was a moot point to.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. You never know. You know what I mean? Like sometimes probably flip around there to see what's going on, get a little Hocevar action, get a little action on, whoever's kind of causing the chaos up there and maybe who has some of those strategy decisions. But not old Elliot. He's locked in on the 48 until the, you're going to ride this one out, man. You're going to ride it out to the very end with him.
Don't really have any other choice. All right, man. Excited to get to the bets and talking North Wilkesboro. We got a comment from Marcus here. Christopher Bell predicting he'll sweep the weekend. Yeah, he'll be in the truck race. That's true. Won the All-Star race. There's that. Have you caught that Mobile One commercial where it's like the Christopher Bell career montage? And
yes, I love that commercial.
And he's like, this check is for $1 million. Like everyone makes fun of those lines in there I see on the internet. So that's one. Bell winning the All-Star race last year. He did win $1 million. Hunter mentioning about Hocevar getting no help at the end of the race. Yeah. If it was Suarez up there, another Chevrolet, I feel like he would have got the push he needed.
Yeah.
It's manufacturer based largely, but he also is Hocevar. So like I said, he's not going to get the help unless it's going to get somebody yelled at in a meeting on Monday morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. So like I was saying, excited to get to this coming weekend. Also excited to get to next week in Canton, Ohio, where we got some fun events going on in and around the Fantasy Football Expo.
Yeah, pretty much your last couple days here, folks. If you guys want to get in on the action with the #Weekender promo, this is, of course, getting you access to our IBT Classic, our golf scramble on Friday afternoon. Excited for that, Elliot. And then draft night out on Saturday. Almost sold out, honestly. So if you guys want to take it to draft night out, our large fantasy football draft party, 200 plus fantasy football enthusiasts, slinging some live drafts there. We're going to have shot wheels spinning. Of course, some songs of singing, giveaways going off, and a little bit of everything in between. So go to the In Between Media website right now, in-betweenmedia.com/shop. Go over there, check out our tickets. Let us know, what events do you like of ours? What other events do you want to do specifically? Is there a NASCAR type of event that you want us to show up to and that, we could get down in town at some point for that? I'd be certainly interested in that. But we love our live events. We love Draft Night Out. We love the Fantasy Football Expo and, of course, the IBT Classic. So #Weekender right now. If you get Draft Night Out tickets, you can also go to the Golf Scramble for 10% off. So that's going to be a good time, Elliot, out there. The Golf Scramble, man, $400 cash prize this year. FSAN, you get bought out, folks, and all of a sudden you got a little corporate money to shell out for the winnings. We got hole-in-one offerings for Super Bowl tickets on hole 9. We also have proximity, longest to longest drive, longest putt, closest to the pin, all that type of stuff. So really fun stuff happening out there, man. And hopefully I just don't lose to you and Jim Scott out there.
Looking forward to cleaning up on the course and with the cards. Let's start to look ahead to the North Wilkesboro weekend in the Horizon Forecast. So the Cup and the Truck Series, again, are going to be at North Wilkesboro among the big three. Cup Series has your 36 charters and good old Chad Fincham in the 66. Shout out to Carl Long for coming out. Do we think this car finishes over under 10 laps down in this race?
Oh, man.
We don't have to beat up on him.
I'll take the over. I'll take the over for sure, yeah. Here at North Wilkesboro especially.
It's really more a commentary, and we'll talk more about this as we break down the track, but a commentary of 450 laps at a 5/8 mile track. Yeah. There's going to be a car that we think is going to contend for a top 10 that's going to finish 6 laps down. And I love that about this place. So anyway, on the Cup side, 37 cars. On the truck side, 38 trucks for 36 spots. So we'll have a couple DNQs, hopefully none of them too harsh, because you got some fun names on the entry list. The Tricon rotation. Nick Lights is in the 1 for a couple of races. Corey Heim is in the 5, so we kind of already know who's going to win, but we'll talk about that later. Chase Elliott has something to say about my prediction there. He'll be in the 7 for Spire. The 25 colleague free agent truck, Ryan Newman. That'll be exciting to watch. Christopher Bell is back in the 62 for Halmar Friesen. Shane Van Gisbergen in the 71 for Spire. Carson Hocevar, another race in the 77 for Spire as well. Schedule for the weekend, Friday, 2 p.m., Truck P&Q. Cars Tour is also in town. Those races start 6 p.m. Friday night on Flow. I know Chase Elliott is in the JRM number 8 and all the typical fun entries over there.
Watch out. There's been some cussing on Flow the last couple of days. Just keep that in mind. They've been Carson Hocevar. Got to watch that, bud. Come on, Flow.
Well, better on Flow than on, Maine Fox during his Talladega win or something like that. Anyway, good little appetizer to start the weekend there. Saturday, 12:48 p.m. green flag on FS1 for the Truck Series race, the Faith Fest 250. Stage lengths there, 70, 70, and 110. Cup P&Q after that at 5 o'clock. And then on Sunday, 7:14 green flag for the Window World 450 TNT, True TV, HBO Max, all that jazz. Stage lengths there, 80, 185, and 185. Wow. Again, 5/8 mile short track. They're going to run 450 laps. When they announced the race, they said 400, and they threw another 50 on there. A super unique track. downhill on the front stretch a little bit and then uphill on the back stretch. There's really not a primary comp to this place. There wasn't when we were running the All-Star here, and there really isn't now. But you look at short tracks, whether it's short or flat, shorter with banking,
Yep.
Your Phoenixes, Richmonds, Gateway, Iowa, Martinsville. I kind of maybe even threw in Bristol because it's a shorter track. Bowman Gray, whatever data you can take from the Madhouse, there's no true comp here. And I'm looking forward to this time next year because we'll have a full points race, 450 laps around with a full field on track to look at that data. Because as much as you can look at the All-Star, I feel like it doesn't help that much. So we're not going in blind, but we definitely, we're not entirely sure what's going to happen. And unfortunately, we can't look back to the 1996 race and take much from that either.
Well, and I think you said something really important there is like after this year, we'll have more data. And I think because of that, like, I'm pretty cautious, Elliot, heading into this weekend. Like that truck race has a lot of heavy hitters in it on Saturday, excuse me. So a lot can happen in that. I think in total, I got 4 bets in the Cup Series, 2 that I'll be giving out in the Truck Series. But like, think about this, dude. We pretty much have 2 all-star races in that second and third state, an all-star race in each of those stages. So we've never seen extremely long runs at this track in the Cup Series. So I'm excited to see like, what is the tire wear going to be? I think that's going to be huge. And like you pointed out too, like we don't really have a great comp, but I'm actually weighing the comps a bit more in my handicapping this week than North Wilkesboro itself, because like I feel like at least from like, okay, take Martinsville. I think that's the closest thing we've been to this year in a points-paying race, right? We also, though, can look at the Clash, right? We can look at the Clash this year. But I think Bowman Gray is the closest thing we've probably been to this year, but also kind of a gimmicky race. Yeah,
the tough thing about the Clash this year, I kind of wanted to look there, but we ran the second half of the race in sleep. So
yeah,
like you can hardly even take from that too.
Yeah, that's fair. And Chris put in the model in the Discord today that like we're also taking Phoenix into account, which we usually wouldn't say is like even a secondary comp, but because it's the same horsepower and because it's kind of the closest thing, we also kind of took Phoenix into account too. So just something to keep in mind there. But this is something that I'm kind of treading light. I'm curious to see what happens there on Saturday evening with practice and qualifying, and if maybe some stuff opens up a little bit to us knowledge-wise, and maybe we can find some guys hang in there on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I agree too with taking in a lot of the data from the comps because we just don't have anything from Wilkesboro. We'll talk more about Chris's specificities in the model in a minute. Looking at some of the trends and topics first. Again, like we mentioned, first points race here since 96. They've run here the last 3 years during the All-Star race. It was held on the old surface in 23, new repave in 24 and 25. So this is the third year with the new repave there. Your All-Star winners, Larson, Logano, and Christopher Bell, as we talked about. In those 3 All-Star races, there has been a driver that has led at least 139 laps. Larson in 23 led 145 out of 200. Then you had in 24 where he led all but 1 lap, 199 to 200.
Oh, that race sucked.
Yeah, it did. Logano also led the most laps last year, 139 out of 250. So a guy leading a lot of laps, very possible this weekend, even though we're running about double what we've run there before. Wilkesboro, one of only 2 tracks currently on the schedule that was part of the very first Cup Series schedule in 1949. Martinsville is the other. A lot of short tracks this year. This is the third of 7 short track races this season, tied with 2024's season for the most in a single year since 96 when Wilkesboro was taken off the schedule. So if you like short tracks, this is the year for you. When we look at the point standings, Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, they are officially in the chase. Ryan Blaney this week with 35 points can lock in. And if Ty Gibbs gets a little bit of help as well and a good finish, he can clinch as well. What we knew on the points, Hamlin and Reddick are the dominant ones. Ryan Blaney, though, getting very, very close after that win at Atlanta. And Ty Gibbs, P4 in the points and within striking distance of these guys too. It's been a really impressive year for the 54. And when you put it that way, we knew that, but when you put it that way, it has been a really impressive year for Ty Gibbs really coming into his own.
Yeah, my biggest regret is I think we said maybe 8 or 9 weeks into the season after his win that, hey, look, Ty Gibbs still 50-1 out there to win the championship. I know some people in the Discord got down on it at that number. I was like locked out of whatever book I was trying to get down on that day. And I was like, so I never ended up getting invested with it. I think it was like one of those like BetRivers codes that wouldn't come through for me. I know you've had that run too. So I never ended up betting in. It's a big regret right now because Ty Gibbs been on a warpath, and like, how about Ryan Blaney out there just destroying like fantasy lineups last week. If you played in anything that has like stage points or laps led, anything like that, like Ryan Blaney, really coming that close to a perfect race. So yeah, good on him, man, for kind of keeping things close. And we'll see how this goes. But crazy that we're already here in July 16th and we have some chase spots clinched.
Yeah, it just shows how dominant they've been. Yeah, I didn't get down on that Ty Gibbs future either. I think for like he and Hocevar, guys like that, this is their first year really putting themselves into the contenders group.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think this year it's Hamlin, Reddick, Blaney, or maybe one of Larson.
Probably, but it's a great number to have just in the portfolio, no matter what happens,
Well, so was a 300 to 1 on Custer last year.
Well, this is different.
I know.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what Ty Gibbs is floating out there now in the championship outright market, but maybe 18, 20, definitely not 50 anymore.
Yeah. Hey, maybe give that a look while I talk about Chris's model a little bit. His notes that he put in, because there's no real race data at Wilkesboro, you got to keep that in mind when you look at the Wilkesboro stats. He did not include any data from the opens, heat races, whatever, just the actual all-star event itself, which I think makes total sense. Same point for Bowman Gray, which he also agrees best comp for Wilkesboro, and that data is in the model. He pulled data for Phoenix and Martinsville into the model from this year, says he normally would not consider Phoenix a primary comp, but because of the limited data set on the short flats this year and the 750 horsepower package, he felt it was best to consider it a primary comp. So when you look at how that all comes together, all three of your past all-star winners here are top six, but we have a tie at the top of 88%, the 11 and the 24. I don't know quite how we feel about those guys, but they're at the top of the model. And to see the full model, of course, you can look at the IBT Racing family, which we'll tell you about in just a minute.
Yeah, 18 to 1 for Ty Gibbs as well. So you know what else I kind of regret, Elliot, now looking at these odds a little bit, and maybe we'll have to do a championship update here in the future. I was like all gung-ho about betting SVG on the championship outright when he was sitting out there like 150 to 1 preseason. And then like the new Chase model was like, maybe not. And like he's 30.
I think they had him
now.
They had him off the board for at least a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And it wasn't they took all the numbers down. It was they left most of the numbers up in the same, and they just took SVG out with the new format. So we weren't really able to get down when we wanted to the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have another bye week coming up. So maybe that'll be a little chip update, season-long bets update. That'll be more exciting for that week. So we'll have to think about that. Anyway, I think what you were about to go into was this week's iFantasyRace.com asterisk mark driver of the week.
Yeah, let's fire it up here. Ryan Blaney, man, top 5 contender last year at North Wilkesboro, finished with an asterisk mark, 16th place finish. In that race, Blaney started 7th, 6.4 average running position, so running up there all day, include on lap 210 when he's running 5th. But shortly after that, there was a caution. He elected not to pit, which got him up to 2nd, but that was such a short-term game, really hurt him long-term here. The ensuing restart horribly. He went sideways for a little bit there, rapidly dropped back in the running order. In terms of total speed rankings, though, Blaney ranked 5th on the day, 8th in late run speed. So he's certainly going to be a contender, Elliot. We'll talk about him a little bit more later. He is one that's tough to handicap because of that finish. And just in general, we haven't seen that same short track prowess from Ryan Blaney, where he's out there contending for these wins at places like Phoenix and Martinsville, like he usually is, at least so far this year.
Yeah, and I do agree with Ryan. Shout out to him for all the data he provides. I'm glad that we had an asterisk mark driver set this week. I do think that is enough of a sample size, the 250 laps last year, to warrant an asterisk mark, even though it was shorter field, more gimmicky format, not an actual points race. It does show enough data. And again, we've been at the same track for 2 years, old track in the 3 years ago before that. So nice to have that. Shout out to Ryan again for all he does. Shout out to Chris for throwing together the model, and shout out to everyone as well in the IBT Racing family, Seth.
Yeah, absolutely. Now free to join and to gain access to chat with all of the analysts here on the program, myself, Elliot, and of course, Chris, and also get access to our memorabilia giveaways. If you want a chance to get access to our full betting cards and the betting model, plus the head-to-head matchup contest, you can upgrade right now for $3.99 per month or $36 for the year. This is also going to get you access to all the benefits from the football family, the PGA family, and the entertainment family. So a lot of fun stuff happening here at In Between Media. Just go to in-betweenmedia.com/chat. Consider joining. Link is in the episode description. Again, free to join if you just want access to chat with us, get into those giveaways. And if you want the model, if you want our full betting cards, you definitely want access to Elliot's, because Elliot's got a ton that he doesn't give out on the show every single week. I'd say I get almost every single bet out on the show that I put out there. But Elliot's certainly a volume better. Chris not always available to be on the show as well. So just really fun time over there. I appreciate waking up and, there were some warriors out there in the race on Sunday night, Elliot, hanging out with you around 2 a.m.
Yeah, I'm glad I wasn't the only one. Felt a little less insane there. We able to talk the finish there a little bit. And yeah, this week, definitely a more pared down betting card for me, but still a couple that didn't make the show. And we talk about, again, just how poorly last week went for me at Atlanta and Lime Rock. I had 31 bets and I had 5 hit. So again, probably have someone else on for Daytona, but we'll get to that when we get there. We got plenty of races first, including this weekend at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Let's break down the bets and the parking garage props. My main thought on the books this week is it's always so interesting to see book to book the numbers, because usually like a Caesars is going to have a little shorter odds than a lot of other books. Sometimes you can find some value bet 365. theScore will throw in some funky ones, but this week I was really impressed with Caesars numbers, not just on the numbers, but had some pretty unique offerings we'll touch on tonight too.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, honestly, because I feel like I've gotten to the point in the year, Elliot, honestly, where it's like I'm doing a lot of my betting on Bet365 because I've been heavy in the placement prop streets as of late, and they're offering great numbers there. And also the prediction markets, right? Like these guys are continuing to throw out the best numbers out there right now. And the other thing is, like, they're not going to limit you, right? Like this, we know is where we have some of the higher profile, the more sharps of this industry, right? So it's a good way to kind of see where the volume is going and see kind of where that sharp money is playing out. So yeah, just, appreciate those offerings, appreciate all the offerings we kind of got across the board. I think the books kind of saw it like us. We're like, hey, anything can kind of happen here, right? Because we don't have a full picture at the data. We don't have a great, like, one single amazing comp that we've been to this year too. So a lot of different things factoring into it. And like, I just appreciated seeing like Denny Hamlin up there, like 5-1 for once. It feels like it's been like months and 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 months since we've seen him out there, dude.
That's a lot of months. Yeah. And we'll talk some Denny Hamlin, but first, there's no direct comps here. And you said the short track mojo hasn't been perfect, but I have to reopen the Penske file to start off my bets here. Outrights on both Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano. Blaney plus 460, the best number I could find. Logano 10-1. Top 3 I went with for Blaney, boosted at Caesars at plus 180. Went with the top 5 on Logano at plus 130. I do think they have their mojo back, though. The Super Speedway mojo, they had the best cars. Cindric didn't have quite as good a finish or as good of a run as Logano and Blaney had. Blaney clearly the best car, best driver. But they showed a side of Penske that we haven't seen in a while. And when you look at the short tracks, they've been really solid this year. You look at the 12 car, Phoenix was his only other win this season and was the best car there, coming back and forth to the field a couple of times. If you want to include Bristol as a comp, I know it's not a popular comp, but short tracks, Bristol's high banked, Wilkesboro's a little flat. I don't care. Blaney finished second there, so I'm using it as a comp. Martinsville, best comp you said that we had so far this year. Blaney was P6. You look at past all-star races here, pair of top 6 runs for the 12 car and that asterisk mark from last year. And Blaney overall, you have to go on a hot streak to catch up to the 2 guys that have been the most dominant this year. And that's exactly what Blaney's done. He's been top 11 in the last 10 races, top 10 in the last 9 ovals. That P11 was at Watkins Glen.
Wow.
22 as well. Again, he's kind of one of those guys, and I'll talk about a couple more of those tonight, where I'm not betting him most weeks, but he's got his tracks. You can pick your spots for him, and this is one of those spots I'm going to pick. You look at the Wilkesboro history, P1, P2, and P10. Of course, the last 2 years has led 338 out of 450 laps the last 2 seasons. So if there's a guy that's going to go out and dominate, I'm leaning toward Joey Logano here. Won the pole at Phoenix, but got involved in that crash with a couple of guys mid-race. P7 at Bristol, P3 at Martinsville. So the short tracks, you're not seeing Blaney win 3 in a row at Martinsville anymore.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily seeing Logano run up front, lead a lot of laps at your Phoenixes, at your Martinsvilles, at your Bristols. Wilkesboro, I think it's kind of a pick your spot plus short track speed. Blaney is one of those, hey, when shit doesn't go wrong for him, he's probably the best driver in the series, most consistent driver in the series. I think both of these guys, big time potential to run up front for the majority of this race and get some good finishes.
Yeah, I think this is the right approach. I love how you said it with Joey Logano. Like, we're not betting him a lot this season, but he's a pick your spot type of driver. Like, I would say like 1 out of like 8 races this year we have bet Logano. I know I was heavy on him at the Ville around plus money odds, and like I couldn't believe we got it for a top 10, and that's where I went. So like you're kind of chasing a similar type of situation. I was hoping honestly to find Joey closer to even money, Elliot, just because he hasn't ran great this season. He's not in the chase currently. Like, it's not looking great overall for the 2022 team here in 2026, but it was just a little short for me, right? Like, if I could get this, top 5 number, or the plus 130 number for a top 10, I would do that. Minus 150 was the best I was seeing for a top 10. I feel a little bit safer there, but I mean, the advanced metrics for Joey are really good. Like, driver rating at short flat tracks this season, he's 5th. You look at average running position at short flats here in 2026. He's number 2. Like, you know what I mean? Like there is a reason. So I get it. And like, it's kind of a similar approach with Ryan Blaney, right? Again, I was hoping to find him a little bit further out than what we are getting on the outright, but you still can't argue with it. When you look at driver rating, you look at total speed rankings over the past couple of years at this style of track, these similar style tracks, Ryan Blaney is right up there with the best of them. So it's a good call. I don't love the way that like Logano's been running as of late. More so like I trust Blaney. I think like you look at momentum driver rating over the last 6, you look at momentum average finish. Blaney's number 2. So I have all the faith in Blaney. I just trust Logano a little bit less, but I think if you're gonna put him down on a spot, I think this is probably the spot where he's led over half the laps here over the last 3 years.
Yeah. And the thing with me with the shorter outrights too, is I'm going to do a lot of that over the second half of the year because it has been an extremely chalky year when it comes to outrights.
Yeah.
You've had a couple, first time winners, upsets, Gibbs and Hocevar, of course, but even on those weeks, they had relatively short outright odds compared to what you would expect for first time winners at certain tracks. And otherwise it's been, it's been such a chalky year even that you haven't had the majority of Hendrick cars win, and you haven't had all the Gibbs cars win a race yet either. So you've had guys stack wins. You've had guys, you've had that kind of year where you're not going to really hit too many of those long shot outrights. So dare I say, short of the super speedways, outside of like a 12-1 outright, I don't know that you really are going to have a shot unless you get one of those crazy days where a guy's on, or just the fuckery that happens at, usually at super speedways.
Yeah, you have to find the value somewhere, right? Because like you hit Chase Briscoe, 16-1, 14-1 a couple weeks ago. That was one of our longer hits this year. I hit Chase Elliott in his first win in the season around a 16-1 number. But like,
I was on the Gibbs at Bristol, and I don't think that was any more than,
I think it was 9-1 or something. Yeah.
So,
and he felt super chalky that week too, right? So yeah, like Carson Hocevar last week, man, that would have been our biggest outright hit, I think, of the season, or one of them close at 35-1. So yeah, or 8, I think it hit him 18-1. I swore I had 35-1, so not even close. But yeah, still same type of thing. So I don't hate the approach. All that being said, to go with some chalk this week.
Well, I'm a moron. I forgot about the Corey Heim win at San Diego. That, of course, was completely unexpected. But then it's one of those. It's one of those places where you expect it to happen. Racing on a street course naval base, we were expecting insanity there to an extent, just not with the outrights.
Yeah, let us know down in the comments below, folks. We want to hear, like, what was the biggest outright you've hit so far this season? I am kind of curious on that, because even across most series, Elliot, like, I don't think there's been a crazy outright that I've seen the community on as a whole. Even most O'Reilly series races, like those have gone to, Larson coming down, or Allgaier taking him, Austin Hill taking him, like kind of the, SVG at road courses, Zilich one or two times, like kind of the usual suspects are winning there. The usual suspects winning in the truck series too, behind Honeycutt and Lane Riggs, Corey Heim whenever he's entered in a race. Rest in peace, Rowdy Busch, when he was out there ripping too. Like it's a great trend you're pointing out. It's a chalky season. Let's embrace the chalk, folks. Let's drink that juice.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, we have 2 super speedways left. Usually in the chase, and especially when it was the chase, if you go back and watch. Definitely was the case in the playoffs too. Occasionally, you would have the guys in the chase were winning the races. You wouldn't really have, other than again maybe at a super speedway, a guy who was not in that top tier championship run running for it. But I mean, you wouldn't really count Bubba Wallace as a long shot. This week he's 25-1. I guess he could be a guy that could be a long shot winner this year. You could have Cindric go on a superhero run because he's in a Penske car. You could have Bowman go on a superhero run in a Hendrick car. Any of the RFK guys maybe can pull one out. Maybe a Suarez, but other than that, I mean, like, is Chastain winning one this year? Like, Josh Berry's not. Austin Dillon at Richmond, I guess. But at this point, if Austin Dillon at Richmond isn't like 7-1, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, for real. Some comments here from the chat. Lars saying, as a Logano fan, definitely looking forward to this weekend. Was late to the party. Now he's bet down. Yeah, sometimes you miss the train, my friend. And some shout outs from Chris on the Busch Light Apple hat. That is a nice looking hat. There you go, Elliot. Little hat tip for the crowd. Also, Hunter saying that Suarez rain shortened race. Yeah, I should have bet him live when I seen him change strategy, only getting 2 tires instead of 4. He peeled out of the pits and held the lead for a couple laps until rain in. Yeah, that was one of the long shot bets of the year too. Eric also saying 60-1 on Ross. I just no, dog. No, I mean, if you want to go like a top 10 or something, that's fine. But like, even feel like his odds for like a top 10 are actually a little bit shorter for a guy who's just been absolute trash this year, dude. Plus 230, I guess I'm seeing on FanDuel. He's plus 155, plus 165 everywhere else. But I don't know, dude. I just don't have any confidence.
Yeah, I mean, we're just running down to the point where you're not going to have the long shot winners. We only have 6 races till the chase. So
yeah, fair enough. Wow, that close already. Football season's almost here, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, Hall of Fame game's a couple weeks away. That's the kickoff of the season. College football starting. Anyway, we've bullshit on long enough. We'll get back to the bets here. I know you're excited about the particular outright that you have. We have some different names for them. Yours is funnier. Mine, I thought, was a little more clever. But so go ahead and introduce your ladder for the week.
Yeah, don't be dog shit. Denny Hamlin, ladder of the week, folks. This is what we're doing here.
Don't be detrimental, but dog shit works too.
Yeah, I guess actually that's probably better than what I wrote, so I appreciate that too. Thank God we're not on the radio waves anymore. Eastern Tennessee couldn't handle these these words. But look, man, like I think like for me, it's just like I finally feel like I'm getting a fair number on Denny, a guy who still is number 1 in the projections this week, right? He's on a tear, 3rd in average finish over the last 6 races, with 2 of those races being road courses. So you love to hear that. And like, he has honestly put himself up into that tier, Elliot, where I'd say 2 years ago, coming in 2024, we would say short flat track. Okay, we're betting Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, maybe Chase Briscoe if we get a good number, maybe Ryan Preece if we get a good number. But like, honestly, Denny Hamlin's put himself in that conversation on short flat tracks and on short tracks as a whole. 1st in driver rating and average running position at 2026 short tracks. 1st in average finish at primary comp tracks this season as well. That includes 5th place at Phoenix, 2nd place at the Ville, where he led almost 300 laps, swept the stages, and then 5th at the Clash as well. The only thing going against the 11 team this week is like he has had 2 subpar finishes here at Wilkesboro, right? That's kind of what's thrown off the vibes, I think, for the community. I think that's what's thrown off the vibes for the books as a whole, that they have him listed at 5-1 and minus 105. But he did have a 2nd place finish in 2024. And again, we never got long runs in those races, Elliot. That's where Denny Hamlin excels, right? Long runs, tire wear management. So I just think it's a great number, specifically on this top 5, right? Because I've seen this top 5 at minus 125, the best I've seen across the board. So for a Bet365 to come in here at minus 105, almost even money for a Denny Hamlin top 5 outside of road courses and super speedways. I don't know the last time we've seen that. So I'll get down here and gladly back the number 11 team.
Yeah, I think Denny Hamlin definitely was a curiosity for me this week. I do think having long runs could really help him out. The only problem I have with Denny is I think he's at best the 3rd most likely Gibbs car to win this week. I think Bell and Ty Gibbs are probably more likely to win out of that camp than Denny. But you're right. I really hadn't thought of that short runs, gimmicky stuff and stuff like that, it's not Denny's wheelhouse as the 40-year-old veteran. But if we're going to get a run in this race, last stage is 185 laps. If we're going to get a 170 lap green flag run, very well could play into Denny's hands if he's running top 5 near the end to get up there and win the race, or at least hold that top 5 spot.
Yeah.
Get damn near even money is the number that I'm going to look at for my card.
Okay, let's go, man. Get you up. Let's go, Denny. Come on, bud. We need you.
Fingers crossed, man. We'll go to some placement props here, and I'll start with one because we teased it just a minute ago about Ross Chastain. Got his top 10 plus 230 on FanDuel. And so here's my deal with Ross. First of all, I incorrectly faded him last week. He ran pretty well when I thought he was going to run like garbage. And with Ross, he's one of those guys that has become a pick your spots kind of guy. And we don't have the data for Wilkesboro, so this one's a bit of a Hail Mary toss for me. But when you look at his runs here in the All-Star races, P3 last year battling for the win, and then a P7 and a P11 as well. He's been a runs great on his tracks guy, and I'm going to take the bet that North Wilkesboro is going to be one of his tracks because the Trackhouse cars are not going to do the favor for him. It's going to have to be Ross at a track he enjoys. And I'm going to take the bet that I think this can be one where he can contend for that top 10 and, hopefully not be 7 laps down like he also very well could be.
I don't know when and where I'm going to bet Ross again this season. I barely touch this guy, for a long time, Elliot, one of my favorite drivers out there on the track. And I'm disappointed in what I've been seeing out of the speed of this team entirely. I'm disappointed with what Ross has been bringing to the track. And I'm disappointed in Busch Light, man. Come on, you can't do this flavored battle and then just drop none of them. The whole, what was this, a test for 2027? And then you're going to meet Busch Light Lemon in 2027? Come on. 2026 was the year, man. I was getting married. We had the Fantasy Football Expo a couple weeks early. Come on.
You got to understand the yearly marketing cycles there, how the quarters work. In the quarter we're in now, I'm pretty sure it was still the Apple coming again. And then they put Lime back out as well, I think. So whenever the next quarter hits, it's probably going to be a late summer, early fall thing to get whatever this new flavor showdown is.
We're in quarter three now. We're in quarter three. Come on.
You got to give people time to talk about it and want it and be like, oh, which one would you like? Oh, would you like the lemon? Would you like the peach? Would you like what was the other one?
Why is even peach in it? Peach, we already had that. I know what peach tastes like. So that gives that an unfair. They do all this shit and they just bring back Busch Light. I'm done. I'm just done, dude. I can't do it anymore. Come on, dude. Be better, Anheuser. Come on.
We were talking off air. It might be time for a break from the fruity beers. So maybe you need them to wait to take your break on the fruity beers.
I've been drinking less fruity beers than you though for pretty much all summer.
But I've had a stash. Them. I've had a stash dating back to April of 2024 now, and then we're talking in 25. So, I'll be out after Canton next week, and then we're getting back to normal. But anyway, back on Ross, having really chalky years at the front. It's guys like Ross. It's guys like RFK. It's guys like even 3/4 of Hendrick Motorsports hasn't won a race. You have those guys that are struggling more than they want to be, and I know Trackhouse has supposedly this big problem or whatever. Again, these guys in their spots, I think, can do well. And with Ross, it's just tough because a lot of his previous spots he was winning at, everyone else has improved at too. So Ross could be running just as well as he did, say when he won Kansas in the fall of 24, and then you get to an intermediate this year. I mean, what did he finish at Chicagoland a couple weeks ago? Probably not very good because I can't remember it. So just one of those things, but you got to pick your spots and it'll be different for everybody. So a little bit on the Ross top 10 here at plus 230. I'll go with it. And he's a guy, 16 races left. I might bet him in 1 more, 2 more.
True.
This will be one of them.
I just think you might be on the wrong Trackhouse driver. I'm going to raise you from Ross Chastain top 10 plus 230 to SVG, baby, top 20 plus 105 on the prediction market. That is Kalshi, 2 units down. Look, man, I love betting road course ringers at short tracks, right? It's the same type of skill set. It's braking, it's handling, right? And I remember back in the good old days, you used to be able to get SVG top 10s at this type of track for 10-1, right?
I remember in fall of 24.
Yes.
Or I think it was fall of 24. He ran near the top 10. So then fall of 25, I had an 11-1 top 10.
Yes.
He ran 13th or something.
Yeah. And that's kind of been his MO is he'll run top 10 most of the day and just will finish P11 because I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But look, I think it's just really, really good value. So I'm going to take the plus money top 20 instead of laying a 3-1 top 10 on him, which he hasn't done a ton, right? But look, SVG 21st in our projections, Elliot, and that's he is missing 3 metric categories, right? So he's getting a 0 in those metrics because he doesn't have enough data here at North Wilkesboro for those particular stats. But without that, he's probably well inside the top 20, right? So for me, I just want to be invested in a guy that's 11th in driver rating, 16th in average running position at short tracks this season. He has been top 15, top 20 guy consistently. Also 13th in average finish in that span, 11th at Phoenix, 11th at the Ville. And in that race at the Ville, he started P5. He scored 8 stage points as well. So if you had the top 10 at the Ville, you were probably pretty disappointed there. He also finished P20 in this year's Clash, Elliot, but he led 15 laps in that race. And before it got all crazy, Or maybe it was one of them got all crazy. This guy was out there leading laps, 15 of them in some of that
he was
inclement
out. He was
weather.
out front till he got dumped. So
Yeah. So like, and also like, I just think like you look at the year before at Bowman Gray, that wasn't a fluke. He finished P9 there in the Busch Light Clash a year ago. And like more importantly, okay, we haven't seen him do a ton at North Wilkesboro, right? But we did see him run the All-Star Open last year. He led 54 laps in that race. And also he's going to get like extra seat time, right? He's going to race on Friday in the truck steers, which I think just gives him that much more. I don't know, dude. This might be my bet of the week here, man. I really like the number 97 car getting invested with SVG because this is a guy who he doesn't need to go out there and run top 10. He needs to finish 15th because he needs to keep himself in this chase race. So I just think getting invested with SVG at the top 20, I'd rather do that than go with the Ross at the top 10, regardless of the number.
Yeah, I think this is the play if you're going to play SVG this week. I'll talk more about him in that truck race. I got a little SVG involved matchup that I'll touch on in the matchup contest. But with SVG, I think he's one of those 14th to 18th place guys. So this top 20 at good money is probably your bet here. Like you said, good at Bowman Gray. You better hope Bristol isn't a comp because he's been garbage at Bristol every time he's there pretty much. But yeah, Phoenix, really impressive this year. Martinsville is one of his better ovals. So SVG top 20, a little pocket of the market that I hadn't really thought of with my limited sort of betting span. This is one where if I'm making a lot of bets and I had a lot of extra coin to throw around, I probably would have already had this on my card too. So again,
I was surprised you didn't, especially when I saw the Ross top 10. I was like, oh, he's definitely got probably an SVG top 20 on that card, but glad I beat you to it.
Hey, that's the beautiful thing about Kalshi too, is that they offer this stuff to us. A lot of the traditional books did have truck top 10s again as well, which was awesome. I hope that sticks. But the Cup top 20s, I don't know if they're making it to a traditional book ever, but they are really special for sure.
We saw it a couple years ago on super speedways, like the Daytona 500. You could usually,
you get it for the 500. That's about it.
But that's it. And then like occasionally I would see it like Talladega in like 2023, but it's been like 3-4 years, right? So, dude, I love these prediction markets, not only because again, are we getting unique offerings, but you can see you sort by the volume that's coming in on some of these bets and where these numbers are moving. You can see where the sharp money is coming in on, and also if you are a high unit allocation type of guy, you have a big bankroll, you're not going to get limited on these prediction markets. And all 50 states. So wherever you are, whether you're out there on the shores of Delaware where you had to go to the casino to bet not long ago, or whether you're out there in states like California, which I don't know if they'll ever have sports betting legal. Kalshi, baby, it's an option. It's always got you. I just want, hopefully, college football player props on Kalshi. I'm praying, Elliot. I'm telling you, man, we need it. I know Josh Shapiro ain't going to get it done for us, so we need Kalshi and the boys to come through for us.
Tough thing about the prediction markets, though, if you're going to throw a bunch of money on it, you're going to move that line real quick. So you're going to be that could be another perk, though. You're the only one to lock in that number because you just moved it a whole bunch.
Right.
If I can bet $10 on an Austin Green top 10 and move the line as much as I have at times this year, it's definitely going to be wild if you're betting a lot. A couple more top 10s here. Going to go with another kind of pick your spots guy, Josh Berry, plus 210 on Bet365. I think he's have some of that Penske mojo and some of just the short track mojo. Something we haven't touched on a whole lot, I guess a little bit, but I feel like this really is going to be a different kind of short track race. 450 laps around this place, shorter track, longer distance than we see at your traditional Bristols, Martinsvilles, other shorter flat tracks that are a bit larger than the 5/8 mile NWB. I think that benefits the guy in the Cup Series who's done this sort of race in the longest. I mean, Cars Tour is going to be there warming up the place on Friday night. Josh Berry, Cars Tour, late models, weekly series, all that stuff. He's been an expert at it, and I really do think that'll help him. And you look at his stats here, not the best, but his best performance here, won the 2023 Open when he was subbing in the 48 car. Not so fun fact, that's the last time a 48 car has run out front and won on an oval. We won't talk about that anymore. But Josh Berry is the guy to do it, though, is what I'm saying. So, yeah, pour one out for Berry's career in the 21 after this year. But he'll still have some bright moments to come. We really are getting into short track season here. So in a month's time, we'll be at Richmond. So heading into that race, we can take, the Wilkesboro data. We got Iowa in a couple of weeks. Really have a better idea who can run well at Richmond, too. And I think Berry is going to be one of those guys to string some good finishes into that late summer. I think it might be Richmond and then Loudon, New Hampshire back-to-back. So starting off short track Berry season. I think those berries are going to be ripe for the picking.
Man, I'm so conflicted on this because like average running position at short tracks this season for Josh Berry is 10th, right? You look at driver rating, he's inside the top 15. I'd be curious to see maybe what his top 20 number was, but top 10 at plus 210, dude, it's too short for me despite that. Like, he has 2 top 10s this year, Elliot. One of those are at Daytona. The other one, he finished exactly 10th at Martinsville. And that was how many months ago? Like,
that was the most similar track to Wilkesboro.
It is.
So,
But if he finished 7th or 6th in that race, I'd feel a little bit better about a plus 210. Like, that's the thing. So for me, like, I like the idea of targeting Josh Berry. Maybe there's a way I get invested in matchups. Maybe I do go that top 20 route. Maybe I just play him in fantasy. I do like having this edge here, especially because he's a guy you look last year and this year combined. He is 7th in the total speed rankings at these comp tracks. So I do like Josh Berry. I think there's a lot to like about him. I just don't like the number for the top 10 specifically.
I understand it's a little short, but it's kind of one of those weeks too where you got to take a couple shorter numbers than you like, but you get a couple longer numbers than you like. We're going to circle back to Joe Gibbs Racing for our last placement prop here.
Yeah, man. I mean, I said SVG top 10 or top 20 might be my favorite bet of the week. Chase Briscoe top 10 plus 101 at Kalshi, 2.5 units down. This might be it too. Like, I just think getting Chase Briscoe at this good of a number at plus money when, like, not long ago, dude, this was one of the most revered short track drivers we had ever seen in the NASCAR Cup Series, right? Came in very early in his career, won at Phoenix. It didn't take him long to really figure out the short tracks here at Joe Gibbs Racing either. And, like, to me, though, it's just it's a pricing play, dude. Like, I got William Byron at a similar number a couple weeks ago at Chicagoland for a top 10 even money when he was like minus 130, minus 140 everywhere else. He was like, one of the best cars of the day.
Damn near won the race.
Yeah, exactly. And like this week, man, like, shout out Kalshi again, dude. Like, they were one of our sponsors for one of our other shows way back in the day before anyone knew about him. So I'm not, paid to talk about him, but like the best value I've seen on Chase Briscoe anywhere else, minus 120. Next best after that, minus 125, right? So like, I just think Chase Briscoe, who's even going off like for as low as like minus 210 at some places, I think it's a great number for a guy who's 9th in our projections, C plus, 68% IBT grade, 6th in the total speed rankings at the comps this year. He has had bad finishes there. Like, I can't sugarcoat that, but I think he got pretty unlucky both at the Ville and at Phoenix, where he was running as a top 10 car. He just didn't finish there. And also, like, you go back to the Clash, that's the one place he didn't have bad luck, led 35 laps in that race, finished P6. And also, he only has 2 all-star appearances here at North Wilkesboro in the actual race itself. Finished P4 back in 2023, finished P9 last year at North Wilkesboro. So I love getting a Chase Briscoe top 10 truck here, and love the Wick scheme he's running out as well.
Yeah, nice little black and yellow. A lot different from, there's the black and orange with Bass Pro.
Yeah.
Ran Free Bird America scheme last week. And now
love the Free Bird.
Little black and yellow with the Wix filters there. Briscoe, I mean, top 10 at plus money. This is a number that it almost doesn't matter what you think of Briscoe specifically at the track. You get a plus money top 10 on Briscoe at a track where Gibbs is going to run really well, and you very well could see all 4 of these guys run and finish top 10. You take the number without a second thought. So this is one I may have to jump on as well. I do think Briscoe is probably the least likely of the 4 JGR cars to win. If this was still Martin Truex Jr., I think, this could be I might take a, plus 200 outright on MTJ if he was getting in a car and running this race with how good he was on the short tracks. But
yeah,
James Small is going to have a good setup in there. I think it's going to be a good day for Briscoe. And I do think that number 19 will be a force to reckon with. A couple comments from Eric here. He's in California. They have Kalshi and DraftKings prediction markets as well. Also mentioning, thinks the Berry number is reasonable. Needs to audition. So this type of track, Penske speed, should be top 10 worthy. I appreciate it there. Just check Kalshi, trying to playing along at home. I see that Kalshi has pole bets. He was also asking about Chris, one of his hallmarks that he throws out there in our IBT racing family is not just what he thinks of outrights, placement props. He nails the fuck out of some pole bets. He's been really impressive with that. So that's another big benefit that does not get talked about enough when he's not on, that Chris brings to the program as well.
Yeah, I don't have the gumption to place pole bets sometimes like Chris does, but
very rare, maybe 5 times a year do I do it.
Yep, same. But Chris, week in and week out, I think he actually develops another model that he just has for himself that not as pretty, but one that also has like kind of strictly like average starting position and early unloading type of numbers there. So yeah, it's a great benefit to being over there in the IBT racing family that you're getting access to a whole other market that you and I really aren't talking about on the show.
Yeah, and it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. So appreciate that folks do. One more cup bet before we get into a relatively extensive truck card, which is fun. But I got to go with a matchup first. The 17 of Chris Buescher over Carson Hocevar plus 110 on Bet365. RFK's been all right. They were solid at Bowman Gray. Buescher has been P10 and P3 in the last 2 years here. But it's less about him and more about that I think Carson Hocevar is not going to make it through 450 laps without either burning his shit up or getting his shit wrecked and punted at some point in this race. So I'm going to take Buescher over Hocevar mainly for that reason.
Yeah, I put him on the thumbnail because part of me wants to get invested with Carson Hocevar sometime this weekend, but this just feels like a little bit outside of his comfort zone where you have to have friendly, faces out there, and he doesn't. He has enemies, if anything, and it just feels like a place that if he does have some early run speed, I don't necessarily, like you said, trust him to hang on to his stuff and manage that tire wear. So yeah, for me, it's a no on Carson Hocevar, and I like the idea of fading him. I've seen some different matchups out there. I've been struggling to find matchups I like this week, but Buescher over Hocevar, not bad. I'm trying to think some of the other ones I've seen out there too, but I think in general, maybe like it's going to be uncomfortable to play this, right? Because you're going to look up probably early in the race and it'll be flipped where Hocevar's out in front of Buescher. But I think when it's all said and done, Buescher probably does end up getting him. Although I'm not necessarily like crazy high on Buescher this week either.
No, neither am I, but I did think, number, driver, everything like that. This was the way I was going to go with it in terms of Hocevar fade. And I think it's a week, like I said, it's short track season. If there's anybody out there who's mad at Hocevar, whether it's Zane Smith from a couple weeks ago or Denny Hamlin wants to start shit or something like that, it's a week where you run into Hocevar and you're like, you know what, I'm going to punt this guy because it's easy to punt him now. And then either he can get me back later or, it's better to do it here than it would be, messing around on intermediates or anything like that.
Do we have dueling Coca-Cola schemes this week, Elliot? Chris is asking here, isn't Bubba also running a Coke car?
That might be this week. I'm not 100% sure. I know that probably it's like the actual Coca-Cola money is probably going to the 23. I think this is probably with the Kroger. Kroger puts
yeah.
Feel like it. So this week it's a Coke patriotic theme as well. I have seen that Bubba car. It does look really nice. I think that is this weekend. I'm not 100%, but I think that's like a World Cup tie-in. The finals on Sunday, so I think so.
We need a little Cokehead matchup here between Buescher and Bubba. What do you think?
Shit, I'd probably take Bubba in that. I don't know.
I would take Bubba. I would take Bubba for sure. Absolutely.
Even money flip, we would certainly do that for sure. All right, so the Truck Series, of course, is racing at North Wilkesboro, and Corey Heim has entered. So you know what that means? We have to take the outright on him. Plus 230 on FanDuel for me. The guy this year on a non-super speedway race, he's either won or he's crashed. And he's only crashed once, and he's won every other time. So you can't ignore him. I don't care what the number is. Plus 230, I'm very cool with it. It's almost like SVG on a road course. You're going to take the number that you get. 303 total laps led here in his career. Led 162 last year before running into some trouble at the finish. Won the race in 2024, though. And once again, he wins or he crashes unless somebody dumps him, which there's maybe an opportunity for somebody to take advantage. But unless he runs into some shit, it's going to be Corey Heim, lock, stock, and barrel.
Yeah, I took a different approach here. And I like the top 3 number. I got at Kalshi a lot, 1.2 units down for me. And this is a guy, you said, dude, he either wins or he crashes, but he won the Rock, which I would say actually in the Truck Series, the Rock kind of gives us another comp point that we don't really have in the Cup Series, right? The fact that we did go to Rockingham, which I compare very similar to this track. So at the Rock, though, led 178 laps, swept both those stages. And at Wilkesboro, you mentioned it, he won that race a couple years ago there in 2024. He led 66 laps that day. And last year, he should have won that race, dude. 1.7 average running position. That is insane. Led 162 laps, started out front. And even in 2023, which feels like so long ago for this kid, right? Finished P6, started on the pole there, led 75 laps, won stage 1. So for me, it's just I saw more value on the top 3 just because everywhere else this was minus 200, minus 250, minus 300 even for just a top 3. So getting it minus 132 felt really nice. But I have contemplating laddering this up too, because I'm kind of with you that I think if he does finish top 3, he probably wins this.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure if we just lost
Just-
Seth there. I know he's frozen on my end. Maybe now you're back. Give that last thought another try, Seth.
Okay, I think I'm back. Okay, yes. Last thought on there. Sorry. The Canadian fog. Get it into the Starlink now. So can't do much around here. But like this is a guy, like as you said, he wins and he crashes out. One of the two is kind of what we're looking at. There are just heavy hitters in this race, right? Chase Elliott can wheel and deal with the best of them. Christopher Bell seems like his hand is all right and he's ready to go out there. And you have, Hurricane Hocevar is going to be mixing up with Lane Riggs, who's been just spectacular this season. So I think there are other guys who could win this. But Corey Heim definitely feels like the heavy favorite for a reason. And I love getting him here at a top 3 minus 132.
Yeah, man, it's checkers or wreckers for Heim. I'm going checkers. But in case he does end up on the wrecker, like you said, a lot of Cup guys in the field. I don't really care about any of them. I'm going to use Chandler Smith to kind of move over to another bet as well. I've got his outright and his top 5 plus 1,200 at theScore, plus 140 on the top 5 via Caesars. Average finish is 6.2 on the comps last year. I did include Bristol in that.
Okay.
Of course, won this race last year and ran, top 2 at some other spots, top 5. Like I said, 6.2 solid average finish. P2 at Bristol this year, again, shorter track. I don't remember what he did at the Rock. That's an important piece to remember too. The Rock, if we're going to count Phoenix as a comp, we may as well count Rockingham as 1-2 on the truck side. So good pull there. And what I've got this into, well, we'll talk about what you should have done first. You were looking for a top 10 and Kalshi, the numbers move like that and you weren't able to grab it.
Yeah, I saw minus 149 for a second. I want to do a little bit more research and figure out like why he didn't finish well at the Rock. He finished like 30th plus, Elliot, but he started out back and I think he just got caught up in some squirrel action early in that race and never really was able to recover.
It may have been mechanical issues. I feel like they had a couple of weeks on the 38 where they had weird mechanical stuff. So that may have been those races.
So just miss the number there. And like, that's the one thing, like these prediction markets and sports books in general, folks, like if you miss the wave, like I did, just walk away, right? Like like I wanted to get back and best with Chandler Smith after he did not come through for me last week on that head-to-head matchup against Landon Lewis, but they come and go like the tide. You got to hit the numbers when they're there. And like, you have to also be man enough and woman enough to walk away when you can't find them.
I will say though, if you want another shot at it, a little way to invest in them, and this is my Corey Heim insurance for the week. It's even number to win at plus 140 over on Caesars. Of course, I'm high on the 38. That's an even number. This insurance gives me a couple other favorites too. Lane Riggs in the 34, Christopher Bell in the 62, Ty Majeski in the 88, had a rough year, but he's great. On short tracks, this is going to be a really important time of the year for Majeski. And it gives me a few fun underdogs, too. Tyler Ankrum in the 18, who we're going to touch on more in a minute. Stuart Friesen in the 52. Some more longer shots. You get the 98 of Jake Garcia in this. 42 of Tyler Reif. Last time we saw him in a truck, he damn near won San Diego. If you think the Rams have any sort of speed, you got Brendan Queen in the 12. Butterbean, of course, another guy who's made his living and is licking his chops to get back in a truck race at Wilkesboro. So couple sneaky long shots, couple underdogs, and 4 of the other, 5 to 6 favorites in the race are in this even number section.
Yeah, I don't hate it at all. I'll talk a little bit more about Ty Majeski later on in the matchups contest. I actually want to get the audience's help in that because I do think like there's a chance that Ty Majeski shows up this week. And so like, I actually don't mind this bet, but like, you're kind of hedging yourself where you're not going to have a lot of profit either way here if Corey Heim does win this, depending on what unit share you put out on each.
Yeah, like I said, it's just a little Heim insurance. You're definitely more confident in Heim winning than most of these other guys. But in any case, I like the Heim insurance, and you do have a top 10 before we get into the matchups contest on one of those guys I just mentioned.
Yeah, crazy that we're getting now the same numbers on top 10s for Tyler Ankrum as a year ago we were getting top 5s. I remember you and Hot Rod kept running it back every single week.
We had like a 5 or 6 week stretch where we nailed Ankrum top 5. Like every
it was like plus 220, right? Like every time or like sometime in that realm. So 0.8 of a unit here on the kid for me. And like, it's been a tough season for him, dude. It really has. Just 4 top 10s and 14 races as opposed to a year ago on the full season, which we're about halfway there on the truck calendar right now. He had 15, right? So he has been like pretty much production cut in half. However, one of the spots he got a top 10 this year, Elliot, 6th place at the Rock, right? So he was fast there. And you look at what he did in this race in particularly last year. He finished 3rd. He had the 4th best average running position. So definitely probably should have finished 4th. Wasn't for Corey Heim kind of having that bad luck at the end of the day. But spent 99.2% of the laps inside the top 15. Also in 2024, he led 26 laps in this race, won stage 2 and finished 8th. So Tyler Ankrum, top 10, plus 220 at Bet365. I think it's one of the best values on the board across any series this week.
Yeah, you mentioned 6th place at the Rock this year, won the Rock 2 years ago on field
Good point.
strategy.
Good
Yeah,
point.
rough year for the 18. I know they've gone through a spotter change over there. Kevin Hamlin was the spotter for Ankrum and stepped away from that program mid-year. I'm assuming what happened, this is complete and total speculation, just because Kevin Hamlin is Alex Bowman's spotter. I pay attention more there. Kevin Hamlin is also Cletus McFarland's spotter, and Cletus was running a couple of truck races.
Mm-hmm.
He probably is like, hey, I want my guy to spot for me. And Kevin Hamlin's like, I can't really do that. I spot Ankrum, and maybe a little monetary transaction or something there, getting another buddy on the spotter stand. Anyway, we don't need to get into spotter politics. That's Door Bumper Clear's job whenever Freddie Kraft gets back on there. But anyway, not the season Ankrum has wanted, but this does provide a really, really good opportunity. Again, short track season, McAnally trucks in general, better on the short tracks than they are in most other places.
Yeah, they certainly are.
All right, so we're going to get into the matchups contest here. Both have some truck matchups, it sounds like. But I hate to say it, so I'll let you say it, Seth. A new change on the leaderboard this week.
A new change, baby. Shout out to our boy Blaze Wolf taking the top spot, man, here at 13 correct matchups called so far this season. Elliot drops down to second with Lars, tied at 12 apiece. Chris finally gets back in the winning column there. He's up to 11. And old Kyle and me sitting at the bottom at 10 apiece. Elliot, I've been on a cold streak, I think, the last month. I think I'm like 0-4 in matchups, so it has not gone well for me, my friend. And I need the audience help, I think, this week to bounce back, man.
I will say, though, congrats to Blaze Wolf CJ for getting up there. I think this is the first time all year that it hasn't been either me or Chris on top.
Yeah.
So shout out. It took half a season to take us down, but now we got a real fight on our hands. And again, if you want to hop in the IBT Racing family, we're going to go triple or nothing these first couple of weeks here to get you guys caught up. But we do have a fun little battle there. And I'm going with another lower series matchup this week. I feel like they've kind of done me pretty well. And this is one that I'm extraordinarily confident in. That's Gio Ruggiero over Shane Van Gisbergen, minus 105 on Bet365. It's less about Gio. He ran P7 here last year. He's done okay on the shorter tracks. This is more about SVG kind of openly admitting he still is not really good and doesn't really understand how to make a truck drive well. Granted, he does have, I think, a previous truck start on this track type back right after he won Chicago. I think his next NASCAR entry in 2023 was a truck race at IRP. So he's done some truck short tracking before, but at Charlotte, he was in a truck, and I think he wrecked the thing. It's just such a different experience than the O'Reilly car and the Cup car, as he's admitted. If you put SVG against one of the other Cup guys where there's more of a chance of fuckery, more of a chance of, Spire trucks breaking down, maybe Hocevar breaks down again and he would beat him. But one of the regulars and one of the, second wave of championship favorites, SVG is the favorite in this matchup, which is even more shocking to me. He's at minus 115. I think Gio is the way to go here. I'm going with the actual truck driver over the guy hopping in for fun who doesn't quite know what he's doing.
It's not bad, but again, SVG knows how to wheel and deal around road course. What did he finish this year on the road course?
He knows how to wheel. He knows how to wheel and deal on the Cup side. Truck side,
he finished second, didn't he? He finished second in that truck race earlier this year that he ran at a road course.
I know he ran at the Glen and it didn't go very well, but again, that's road courses. This is a road course. Of course, I'm taking SVG. Unfortunately, this week they're not on a road course. Last week they were. This week they're not.
Yeah, I did see this number. I poked around a little bit. Gio's had pretty good runs here, so it's a very fair bet. I think it's a really great number too. Elliot, for my head-to-head matchup contest, though, I want to poll the audience here because I have two options that I can't pick between. I'm going to bet them both at probably a very low unit share. I bet all the head-to-head matchups that I give out in the contest so far this season. So one, sticking here in the truck series, first of them going back to Ty Majeski. He's minus 125 right now at a few different books against Christian Eckes. He's beat him in the comp track that we went to earlier this year. However, he hasn't always beat him at North Wilkesboro going back a few seasons ago. So that is one right now that I'm considering. I just like Majeski. He's got to show up. Christian Eckes has honestly, though, been a little bit more consistent. Like Majeski's finishes are he's got an average finish of 17.2, which is pretty horrific for a guy who we are expecting to maybe compete for a championship this season. So I have questions there. The other one I saw, which is kind of just Ascend it, probably won't hit, but like the number's so crazy. Tyler Reddick is plus 160 against Joey Logano. I think that's at 365. That feels crazy. Like I know Logano, but you look at our projections and we do have Logano fourth, much higher than Tyler Reddick, who's tied for 10th right now, 64% versus Joey Logano, 84%. So it's hard for me to like bet that, I think. But Tyler and Joey has also beat him at 2 or 3 comps so far this season. So like, I understand it. It just feels like a crazy number on a guy who's so high up in the points. But if you're going to fade Tyler Reddick, is this the track? So curious to know your thoughts and curious to know the audience's thoughts. Are either of these two bets ones I should lock in? Should I just hold off until Sunday morning, see if something better comes my way? I'm not too sure here, man. I'm a little stuck between a rock and a hard place, if you would.
Yeah, I can understand those being ones to think about. I'll start with a couple comments from Hunter here. Ty Majeski, yeah, either good or horrible this year. A lot of attrition, a lot of bad luck. I think something broke in the brakes and destroyed the truck at Lime Rock last week. But again, short track season is where I really like Ty Majeski. Hunter on Ryan Newman, Collar Graham truck, long shot top 10. I looked at that number and I was like, Ryan Newman would be a fun top 10. Anytime I do that sort of thing, though, I mean, I have my worst season-long bet this year was Brendan Queen, not just to win one race, but to win 2 races. That's my worst season-long bet by a long shot. The Ram trucks just aren't there. Ryan Newman, I think, is a great driver. I think he probably, I can't even say he probably finishes on the lead lap because he might not even have a truck or a situation good enough for that. And with this 25 truck, we've seen that a lot this year, even when it's running well. Clint Boyer was top 15 at Dover, something like that, and then got caught up in some crap. And McMurray at San Diego, we thought he was going to be good. I just can't think of a time that this truck has ran really, really well. Colin Brown at the street courses.
Right.
Yeah, but it's just, in terms of the matchup, though, I do think it's definitely the Majeski bet. Reddick at plus 160 over Logano's extraordinarily tempting. And I think most weeks, of course, you're smashing that. Of course, I have enough faith in Logano to have both an outright and a top 5 on him. So definitely more faith in Logano. 23-11, their one weak point. Reddick's one weak point is the short tracks. So I don't love him there. And Eckes is, again, it's a tempting matchup there. You said Majeski was the favorite and a heavy favorite, or is it more closer to pick him? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's like minus 125 versus like minus 110, minus 105. So not a crazy heavy favorite, but certainly a favorite.
Yeah, I think I think it's Majeski over Eckes that you go there. Unless Majeski runs into a problem, I think he's a top 5 to top 8 truck, and I think Eckes is probably more in that secondary. Chris saying Logano at a new event, Reddick, who's hot streak.
Yeah, good point.
Waiting. I think Majeski the better between those two. Chris also saying wait until Richmond for the colleague trucks. What's so special about Richmond, though? I feel like, they're to the point where they had to get the trucks deal started to get Ram back in the sport. They were running a bunch of garbage. They still are kind of running a bunch of garbage, it seems like. And now the rumor is that they're ramping up the Cup deal to go Cup racing in 27. So I would imagine company-wide, there's maybe even less work going into those trucks and more going into getting the engine and everything set up for a 27 Cup deal. So Richmond may be a better track for some of these guys. Maybe Chris has some insight on who the 25 driver is, and maybe he'll be better. But
is it Austin Dillon? It's probably Austin Dillon, right? 100%.
Maybe. Okay, Chris Rice said on DBC last week they're getting an update on trucks for Richmond. So, okay, good to know that they're not just taking a back seat on that. I appreciate Chris having the time to listen. I was on a good streak there with DBC in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I haven't gotten the chance to catch it. So, Chris, plenty of time with the newborn in the house to throw in some podcasts. I appreciate you for being caught up on the news there. So, yeah, maybe we can get a little butterbean couple of wins at the short tracks and make my bet not look like such garbage. But that is good to know that maybe in this last third of the year, the colleague trucks can be a little better. And yeah, if they get some more interesting names in 25, but that's not what we're talking about here. I think it's definitely Majeski in this matchup. The Reddick one is going to suck if it hits to have had a plus 160, but I just don't think it's going to hit.
I don't either. Yeah. I think I'm going to lean towards the Majeski. I'll make my official pick sometime tomorrow in the IBT Racing family. So be in the Discord for that. I'll also put my full betting card out there in as well. And I'll have whatever matchup I take, unless I just I might hold off. I got a busy day at church on Sunday, so I won't have a ton of time to so that's why I was like, I really want to find a matchup now, but nothing was calling to me. So, we'll see what happens out there, but I need one here, Elliot. The kid's down bad right now. Kid's down bad.
I do think they're both worth betting. I just think if you want one to actually hit, I think you probably have to go with the Majeski over Eckes.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so that's going to be fun to watch, see if we can get back to the top or if Blaze Wolf CJ is going to extend his lead. A lead that we want to have too is over in the fantasy spin contest, Seth.
Absolutely. If you guys want a different kind of daily fantasy experience, we've been previewing this app for a couple months now, and it's so much fun that we're going to keep doing it right here. Fantasy Spin lets you spin your lineup, make your picks, and combine into just a great experience that you can actually enter tournaments based on real player performances. Like a slot machine, you can absolutely hit the jackpot with Fantasy Spin. It's a unique game that's going to combine the skill of drafting a DFS lineup and also give you that gamified experience. So enter a contest and spin your DFS lineup for a chance to win big the rest of the racing season. And whether you're playing for a free state like us here in Pennsylvania, because come on, Josh Beer, we need you, baby. We need you to get Fantasy Spin out there. Or if you're in a cash state as well, Fantasy Spin has you covered. I've been seeing a lot of the IUT family up there on the leaderboards each and every single week. We'll probably do another tournament sometime later this year as well. So want to be invested over there. Use that promo code IBT NASCAR. Deposit $10 and play at least one tournament to get $30 in bonus play. Support the program. Check out Fantasy Spin, and let's make some noise for the rest of the racing season. And let's go ahead, Elliot. What do you say we fire up a little spin here? Let's get after it.
Yeah, let's roll, man.
Spin, pick, win.
Yeah, man, I was so locked in. I was ready to start the spin. I didn't have the toss for you, but let's get to it.
Yeah, let's do it up here. We're going in the main event. Cup Series starting first. You guys know the role. So 5 spins, 4 locks. Let's see what we can do. We're going to start out here. Oh, what a wow. Gainer spin. All right, we got some options right away here, Elliot. We got Joey Logano, William Byron, Dinger, Chase Elliott, Josh Berry, McDowell.
This is one of those where if we were caught with this for our full lineup, I wouldn't be too mad. Personally, my lean here is lock the 22 and the 9 and spin again.
Yeah, we have William Byron second in the projections this week, though, dude. He's been better here.
Tied for first even with Denny.
Yeah.
Man, it's just one of those, the 24 putting full races together.
Yeah.
Just isn't something that I've seen from them. Chase Elliott's the only Hendrick car to have won this year, and all the other 3 have really just shot themselves in the foot time and time again when they've had good speed.
Byron is 3rd on comp track finishes this year, though. So, like,
I'm okay to lock. I just would like to lock all 3 of them, 22, 24,
I agree.
and see what happens.
I agree. Like, yeah, I'm not like incredibly on the 9. Okay, I mean now. Okay, well now things get interesting because we just rolled a Zane Smith, Denny Hamlin, and Christopher Bell. Well, we know we're locking Denny for sure.
I feel like we have to unlock the 24 for the 20, or if you insist on unlocking the 22 or the 9, for me though, it's unlock 24, lock 20.
Oh man, that's tough. It's tough with those finishes out there.
It is,
right. Chase Elliott's finishes at comps have actually been worse, even though he did win Martinsville, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
But, I mean, we can't let Bell get off the screen.
No. Bell's going to be locked. It's just who do you replace him with, right? Because it's one of those Hendrick guys. It's just which one is it? Oh man. Chat, let us know. Chat, we need your help here. First one to say who we unlock, whether it's Byron or Elliott, we're gonna go with that one. I don't know, because like I feel like Chase has more upside, but Willie actually might be safer this week, right? That's kind of how I feel about it. So
maybe, but for me, it's the 24 can run up front the whole race and then blow it. We got Marcus in the chat here saying Byron. So.
All right, we're doing it. We're unlocking Byron. I trust you, Marcus. Jesus, take the wheel.
You didn't lock Bell. What'd you do?
Oh, no, I didn't.
What the?
Oh, no. Messed up, kids. I do have Tyler Reddick, which I really don't want to lock him for these last 2 spins. So I'm just going to spin again, folks. Wow.
I'm disgusted.
And,
we're not going to get lucky enough to
Briscoe,
get him back.
Though. I'll take Briscoe.
Compared to Bell, though, man.
I'll take Briscoe.
I mean,
screw Bell. Come on, baby. Maybe we'll get him back right here. Oh.
Todd Gilliland, Final 4 of the matchup contest. So maybe they'll throw a little extra in there. But I mean, you killed our lineup. You didn't lock Bell. So it doesn't, that looks all right. Zane Smith, I don't think is going to do very well. But yeah, that's a fat finger there, man.
Chris Saint Seth has taken so many L's on this segment this year. Elliot might need to take over the reins here. I'm the more skilled one, I think, on the production end that I need to be ripping it. But
hey, I did it when we had. I think Phil and I did it. Maybe.
Oh yeah,
there was no problem there. So
also,
but I'll I'll be able to spin another. I'll do my own lineup on my end. I'll make sure to keep Bell if I get him, and I'll have to throw that in the family Discord.
Yes. Speaking of Phil, we're likely going to have a fill-in, whether it's going to be Phil or Brian next week. We're going to go Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, Elliot and a guest next week. So just be prepared for that. We got the Fantasy Football Expo firing up on Thursday. So we want to get the show out of the way and make sure it gets to you people at a relatively decent time there on Wednesday, Elliot.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it. Whatever guests we're able to get. Phil and Brian have been great. And if we have to open it up to others too, we'll have a great time.
Absolutely will. Let's do a little Faith Fest 250 first truck series spin here on the program. What do you say?
Faith Fest 250. No faith in Seth to lock the right drivers fest.
Christopher Bell.
Chris Bell.
There he is. And Lane Riggs.
Bell and Riggs. You got to lock him.
And Frankie. Oh, if I was that's a lot of projected points for Frankie. My goodness. Oh wow.
That is. I don't want to crap on an app that has sponsored us and done well for us, but I have noticed that their projected points occasionally are a little off.
All right, another Frankie spin, Christian Eckes, Ryan Newman, and Chris Buescher. I'm gonna keep spinning. Honestly, I don't really.
Eckes would be lock Eckes just because we got 3 spins left. We can always unlock him, but he'd be a good guy to keep around.
Yeah, good point. Good point. We'll do that.
That's the beauty of it. I think the first week or two I played, I didn't know you could unlock guys.
Hey, what a spin here! We got Queen, we got SVG, and Honeycutt. So I'm gonna
I think we keep Honeycutt and spin again.
Yep, keep Honeycutt, spin again. I'm going Majeski.
Yeah, we got unlock Eckes, lock Majeski, and make sure you actually lock Majeski. There you go.
Click. We're locked, dude.
One more spin left. Let's see.
It's got to be Ryan Newman coming back. We've pulled him like 3 times already.
I'm hoping that we get some. I hope we get a little give me Heim and Mini.
A little mini Tyrell action.
Mini's another guy. I mean, if we're talking about collar guys who can run well,
I know.
Mini Tyrell, Cars Tour guy. I didn't even think of him.
Trust me. I've been looking at some Mini Tyrell this week. Yeah, I'm finding my way back in after getting absolutely gypped on the last lap of that road course. I think it was the Glen. I had him
San Diego. You had him for a top 10, and he ran 12th.
Is that what it was? Okay. No, and it was passed on the last lap.
I remember because I was watching the battle for the lead, and I was watching the battle for 10th. I'm like, this son of a bitch might actually hit the Mini top 10.
I know. I couldn't wait to come in and talk all my greasy shit to you the next Thursday, and unfortunately,
Heim and Mini. Let's go.
All right, Heim and Mini.
Okay, so there we have. He's not Casey Kane. He's Casey Klein. He's making his Truck Series debut. I don't remember for what team, but yeah, Casey Klein. And Nathan Nicholson is in the 76 for Boyd. He actually sort of ran okay for 2 seconds at San Diego, but then got involved in crashes twice. So again, Casey Klein, going to confuse a lot of people, maybe pick up some of the Casey Kane fan base. But I thought asking Heim and Mini was all right. But so we got 4 drivers and 2, back in the day in the fantasy league with Jared and the crew, we just call those the shitters. So
yeah.
We got 2 shitters this week. It's okay.
The good thing is I have
Casey
more
Klein top 15 incoming to win.
I have more entries this week, that I can throw out, but definitely not my proudest spins right there. But that's the fun of it, folks. So little fancy spin, check that out. Go download the app. Use that promo code IBT NASCAR. Deposit $10. You're gonna get at least $30 back in bonus play. Let's hit the drop one more time for good old time's sake. What do you say?
Spin, pick, win.
I will say, Eric, I'm not 100% sure that it's Casey Klein. It could be Klein or something like that. But Casey Klein sounds more fun. And Chris saying, got that right. Those 2 a.m. baby feeds have been top tier content. Chris, if you're still watching, I'm wondering if on Sunday you may have had an experience where you had one of those 2 a.m. baby feeds and you realized, oh shit, the race is still on. Because I'm sure he probably didn't make it to the end of the race either.
Yeah.
Because that would be top tier. You're like, I wonder how the race looked. Oh, it's still got 10 to go and you hit the finish. Just waking up at the perfect time. That would be fun.
Yeah, hopefully you didn't have the Hocevar outright, and hopefully the baby was laid down at that point where he's not shaking and, with excitement like I would have been at that point. So, yeah, shout out Chris. Shout out Chris being a good dad out there, taking some turns.
Marcus is never going to forgive us, man. He's never going to forgive us.
I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. I just want to spin. Yeah.
Always be Casey Klein to me now.
Yeah.
Multitasker. Yeah, Seth, how did we do in our lineup? Because we got Blaney Logano on the last spin, and they were the first, and I think Logano ended up top 10.
Let me
So
check exactly how the lineups went last week.
take a look here. I'm going to go through the comments of the show, see if there's anything that we didn't shout out yet. I think this was Chris talking about pole bets earlier. Already bet Logano 11-1. Take a Byron bet looking for the best number. Eyes on one of Hamlin, Bell, or Blaney as well, if I can make it work. Chris's longest outrights of the year, the Hocevar 25-1 at Dega. Chase Elliott 18-1 at Texas there. Throw it in the comments, guys. Who is your pick to win in North Wilkesboro? Any other bets that you find for the week? You can flame Seth for not locking in Christopher Bell. You can flame me for hitting at about a 10% clip last week at the super speedways. It's not so good. 100% right. Fell asleep. Baby woke up. Race was still on. It was close.
Nice.
You may never have a middle of the night feed as good as that one again, Chris.
There you go. This was my lineup last week, Elliot. I had Carson Hocevar, I had Logano, I had Blaney, I had Elliot, I had Byron, and I had Cinny. I finished 6th. To finish in the money on FantasySpin, you have to be 5th. That's like the 8th time I finished 6th this year, dude.
So can you look at everybody's lineup? What was the winning lineup? I mean, let me. You had a lot of.
Oh my God, goodness! Talk about the nuts lineup here. Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Todd Gilliland, Gibbs, Bell, and Hamlin. Yeah, that's pretty good.
So that's 4 of the top 5. Denny, I think, might have been top 10, and Gilliland ended up.
Denny was like 13th or 14th. Gilliland was like 15th or 16th. Yeah, pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah, kicked our butt. Wow.
Well, we'll see how this week goes for FantasySpin and across the betting card. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. Appreciate you guys rolling down the back road with us. Seth, I'll give you the opportunity for any final plugs before we sign off.
No, just appreciate it, guys. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. We got some shorts hitting the wire this weekend. We'll be back also tomorrow at some point. Make sure you're checking out the mini episode we'll put out for previewing the in-season tournament. And then next week, back here Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, Elliot and a guest, plus some more bonus content as well.
Can't wait, man. Thanks for riding down the back road with us, and we'll see you again next time.
Lock those drivers, boys.